Hi guys, welcome to my channel. It's Jocelyn, and today I'm going to be doing a makeup tutorial using the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. This is my first video on my channel, so please like, subscribe, comment, and I hope you enjoy. So first I'm going to start by priming my face with the Tarte Maracuja oil. I'm going to start with this because I don't use primer and moisturizer isn't enough for my dry skin, so I'm going to use this. What I do is I just drip it on my face. Like you see in all those Instagram videos. And then I just rub it in. I'm gonna go do my brows off camera and I will be right back. Okay, so brows are on and now I'm going to get into my face makeup. So the foundation that I use a mixture of the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless in the shade 120 Classic Ivory and the Maybelline Fit Me Dewy and Smooth in the shade 110 Porcelain, and I mix those together on the back of my hand for my foundation. I take more of the Dewy and Smooth in the lighter shade than I do in the Matte and Poreless in the darker shade because I'm fair skinned, and mixing them together will make a perfect mix of radiant and matte foundation for my skin tone. So I take a little bit of the Dewy and Smooth, probably about dime-sized amount, and then in the Matte and Poreless, this is a lot runnier, so you have to be very careful because you don't want too much. So I take maybe a pea-sized amount of that, and I mix those two together with my beauty blender, and I buff that into the skin. Now I'm going to take my ColourPop No Filter Concealer in the shade Fair 08, and I'm going to apply this under my eyes and on my forehead to highlight my face. A little bit on your chin, down your nose. On your forehead. Once again, taking your beauty blender to blend this all in. I like to blend in my nose and my chin first, so those will dry faster because I put less concealer on. And then as soon as you blend it, you want to set it with your translucent powder, and I'm going to be using the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder today for my concealer. And when you're doing your eyes, you want to blend one eye at a time so the concealer doesn't crease. Sorry for all the funny faces I'm making while I blend my concealer. I always make funny faces. To do my concealer, I like to do one eye at a time to blend it out and then set it so it doesn't crease. Now that my concealer is all set and blended in, I'm going to be taking my Too Faced bronzer, Milk Chocolate Soleil bronzer, and I'm going to be taking it in with this Wet n Wild bronzer brush. Tap off the excess, make a fish face, and you just blend that under where your shadow is, under your cheekbone. Before I do the other side, I like to do a little bit right here on my forehead. Give me a bronzed look. Again on the other side, always tap off the excess. You don't want to look muddy or put too much on. Take a little bit on your jawline to really chisel it out. Bronzer is done, so now I'm going to be taking the Tarte 24-Hour Amazonian Clay Blush in the shade Party. Tap off the excess and smile a little bit so you can see the apples of your cheeks and apply it lightly. You want to put too much on or you'll look like a clown, so go light on this, light hand. Now I'm going to bake my face right underneath my bronzer to really chisel out my cheekbones. I'm going to take my Beauty Blender and my translucent powder, put the pointed tip in. All you have to do is take it and swipe. Go back in with more to make it more defined. Same thing on the other side. You want to leave that sit there, don't brush it away, because the longer you let it sit, the nicer it'll look and the more defined your cheekbones will look. And while that's setting, I'm going to move on to my eyes, and to set my eyes, I'm going to be taking my ColourPop No Filter Concealer once again, and I'm just going to put a dab this big on each eye, and I'm going to blend it out with my Beauty Blender. Just like your concealer under your eyes, you want to set one eye at a time. Now we are going to start eyeshadow, but first I'm going to take more translucent powder and put it under my eyes, so in case we get eyeshadow fallout, we can just brush it off and we don't have to worry about it blending into our foundation. Like I said in the intro, I'm going to be taking the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette for today's eyeshadow look. I zoomed you guys in so you guys can see closer up my eyeshadow. So I'm going to be taking the shade Chaser and Sauced, and I'm going to blend this into my crease as a transition shade on a Morphe R37 brush. Dipping back in again to really darken up that color. Now I'm going to be going in again with just the shade Chaser to lighten up up here on my crease, to really blend out that shade and make it nice and blended. Now I'm going to be taking the shades Low Blow and He Devil, and I'm going to define my outer corner and my outer V. On that same R37 brush, I'm going to be taking the same shade that we used earlier called Sauce, and I'm going to blend this out a little bit up towards my brow bone to really blend out that color and let them really blend together. Now I'm going to be taking the shade in Fuego, right here, on a smaller blending brush, just on my outer V right here to really define my crease before I cut it. Going back in with that same R37, I'm going to take the shade Sauced once again and blend that shadow out that I just laid down. Next, I'm going to be taking the shade Ashes, which is this really deep browny purple, and I'm going to define on my crease right here, right before I cut it, to really give it a nice cut crease and a really defined line. Going back in with that shade in Fuego, I'm just going to blend that purple out just a little bit above where I laid it down. Taking an R37 brush, the same one we used before, not taking any additional shadow, I'm just going to take that same brush and blend out my crease where I just laid down those shadows, just to make it a nice, easy transition between those two colors. I zoomed out a little bit so you guys can see me cutting my crease easier. I'm going to be taking a very small concealer brush, like that. And I'm going to be taking the same concealer that I used earlier, putting a little bit on the back of my hand, and I'm going to cut my crease. And this takes a lot of practice. I can't promise this is going to be right on the first try, but I'm going to try my best. So you just take a little bit on your hand, and you start, I like to plop some down in the middle of my lid, like where I would lay down a shimmer shade. I just start there and just cover my whole eyelid in concealer. Once you've cut your crease this much, with a little bit of space between the end of your eyelid and your eyelashes, you want to leave it like that, but don't set it because it'll help the shadow really shine and stand out if you don't set it and leave the eyeshadow wet. Taking that R37 brush, I'm going to go back in with the shade Sauced and just blend out my outer corner of my cut crease a little bit. Taking that same small blending brush that we used before, I'm going to go in with the shade En Fuego, which is that really deep red shade in the palette. And I'm going to do the same thing I just did with the previous shadow. Taking it on my outer V and into my cut crease on the end. Not taking it any further than halfway past my eyelid. Same thing with that purple shade Ashes. So I went ahead and I did my other eye off of camera, and now I'm going to finish out this top lid by taking the Stila Liquid Metal eyeshadow in the shade Kitten Karma. Take the applicator and just swipe it on your eye. Now that your eyeshadow is drying down, you're going to take your same eyeshadow that you used to blend out the purple and just buff out that glitter so it's not such a harsh line. Going in with En Fuego, this red shade. Now while your liquid eyeshadow finishes up drying, we're going to start the bottom lash line. And I'm going to take the brush that came with the palette and I'm going to go in with Chaser and Sauce, the shades that we used in our transition shade earlier, and I'm just going to run that along my lower lash line. Next, going in with a Morphe M443 brush, I'm going to take the shade He Devil and do the same thing on this lower lash line. Focusing it more on the outer end of my lower lash line. Next, on a really small blending brush, this is the Morphe M506. I'm going to take that purple shade and put it really close along my lash line, like stamp it on. Next, you want to put eyeliner in your waterline, and I'm using this Maybelline eyeliner in deep brown, and you just want to define your waterline, your upper and your lower waterline. Usually for a look like this I would put on lashes, but I don't feel like it, so I'm just going to put on mascara and curl my lashes. Now it is time to finish off the face. So I still have my bake on under my eyes and over here, so I'm gonna just brush that off. Now for my favorite part, I'm going to highlight my face using the Anastasia Sugar Glow Kit. I'm going to go in on a Morphe Y14. This is my favorite highlighting brush. I'm going to take the shades Butterscotch and Gumdrop, and I'm going to mix these two both together for my highlight on my face. I like to go in with more than one dip. It makes the highlight pop more. A little bit on my nose. For my inner corner, I use my pinky and I'm going in with the shade Marshmallow, which is the lightest shade in this palette. I'm just going to stamp that on my inner corner and a little bit on the side of my nose. Highlight my brow bone, I'm going to take the Morphe Y22, just rub the shade Butterscotch right under my eyebrow. Now for lips, I'm going to be taking the NYX Whipped Fouté lip and cheek color in the shade Cocoa Bean, and I'm just going to apply this on my lips. Now I'm going to set it with the NYX Dewy Finish Setting Spray to finish up the look. Alright guys, that completes this tutorial, and I hope you really enjoyed my tutorial using the Naked Heat palette, and subscribe to my channel, leave a comment and a like down below, and comment more videos you want to see, and yeah, thanks for watching. Bye! Is on. That's not annoying.